I am. Hello. Hi, Howard. Thank you very much. I'll be very quick. So next slide, please. It's just to give you an update. So there's been various guidance updates in PDPR. So version 6 is now released of the regulator positions guidance. It's a long piece of guidance, but you can navigate through it to the sections relevant to yourself. But it is a really important piece of guidance that we would really encourage producers to use to understand their obligations. We've added a lot of detail for small producers who obviously had their first deadline on the 1st of April. And we've added extra clarifications and more examples and things like that. And we always are developing it further based on the queries that we're getting. So, it's a live document that we will seek to update again shortly, I'm sure. So we're on version 6. I'm sure version 7 will be before the end of the year. The household guidance has also been updated. So the household definition hasn't changed. It's just to add further clarifications and examples just to help people understand the kind of evidence they could use for reporting non-household packaging for primary and shipment. There's fit and proper person guidance. That's not relevant for producers, but it is relevant for reprocessors and exporters, as well as compliance schemes. So it's an important piece of guidance that we would we'd advise those stakeholders to have a look at as well. The gov.uk guidance in general, there is a lot on there, and it is always kind of being updated, examples being added and things like that. So I'd really encourage you to look back on it if you have any queries, and just check it's not covered already in the guidance because it is being developed all the time. If you go on to the next slide, please. We recently published, well, at the end of it was mid-May actually, we published the aggregated data set. So that is the aggregated UK total of what has been reported under EPR. So that's available on MPWD. That is going to be updated again in the next 2 weeks as an extraordinary update, but normally we will update that every 2 months. I know there is a lot of interest in that in relation to the UK recycling obligation. So it's available for people to access publicly from now. So please feel free to go and have a look at that as well. We have other publications coming up. So we'll have public registers of registered producers, of registered compliance schemes, civil sanctions, then reprocessors and exporters will follow. So the producer and compliance scheme registers should be published in early summer. It does require us to extract that information from the digital system and make sure that that's available for people to be able to see. There will be a compliance monitoring report and that has been published, and we've refreshed that every year. So again, these links I'm sure will be shared after this webinar. We go on to the next slide. Compliance work today. You may have, if you've been to these webinars before, we have shared this kind of information before. We obviously had a lot of data come in at the start of April. We've had late submissions, resubmissions ever since. So we're doing a lot of data checking on the registrations and on the packaging data that we've received. We have raised over 1,600 queries on those submissions, and we're working through just to kind of get rid of any erroneous data, querying anything that doesn't look quite right. And encouraging people to come into compliance as well. So we're continuing that free rider work as well for those who are non-compliant. So again, I think in the past we've asked if you do know of a business that you don't believe are compliant right now or have engaged with EPR, please report that to us and we can investigate and follow up as necessary. So that's a continuous process. So please continue to do that. We also are continuing to answer queries. We have dedicated teams supporting producers, compliance schemes, businesses in their EPR compliance. So we'd encourage you to keep coming to us and we'll respond as quickly as we can. And again, look at the guidance that's available because we do keep updating that to help with people with their queries. So if you want to go on to the next slide. This has been split over a few slides, but we had a single slide that kind of helped show that the kind of 3 groups that you can kind of go to and what they work on. So DEFRA will be developing the policy and they develop the digital system. So you have questions around policy or the digital system, how to use it. We encourage you to go to the DEFRA service desk. So the contact details are on the screen there. If you go on to the next slide, we've then got the 4 regulators. So if you are based in England, we encourage you to come to the Environment Agency. We'll provide you technical guidance and advice. we'll publish the data as I explained before. We've got a lot of publications that we will publish for you to use. And then, yeah, any further questions on compliance, please come to us directly. So that we've got email addresses on there, but again, hopefully they'll be shared after this webinar. If you go on to the next slide. And then there's PAC UK, of course. So as Harsha was explaining before, they set the disposal fees, they carry out the invoicing, and they also publish the RAM, which is the recyclability assessment methodology. So questions around those three areas, we'd encourage you to contact PAC UK via the DEFRA service desk. So it just to help you understand what, how to get the quickest response to go to the right people firsthand. And if you do go to, say, DEFRA service desk with a compliance question, we talk to them regularly. They will triage it to the right place so we can help make sure that you get the advice that you need. I think that's the end of my slides. That's it.